Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how I turned this master bedroom window into this. By using my time in retirement to do this project myself, I'll also estimate for you how much money I saved. When you retire, you'll find out that you have time to learn new skills or pick up new hobbies that you had zero time for when raising a family and having a full-time plus job. I'm going to build a patio and deck off my master bedroom, and we'll be learning some new construction skills along the way. Now, this particular project is designed to give me direct access to the outdoors from my bedroom, especially to my hot tub and to my RV. Now, this is my master bedroom. The hot tub is right behind this curtain, and my RV is parked under the RV port on this side of the house, right over here. So let's start at the beginning. I retired a little early at the age of 56, and having a simple lifestyle is important to me so that I can stay retired. This means if I have a home improvement project in mind, I'm using the time I have in retirement to do it myself as much as possible, learn new skills, and save thousands of dollars in the process. Now, we were at a yard sale late last summer, in October actually, and we spotted these brand new unused exterior doors. The seller said the doors ended up not fitting their space and they couldn't be returned, so they were trying to just get rid of them. This is perfect for my house, including the placement of the hinges and the handles. So, these unused French doors, which normally sell for about $2,000, I got for, get this, $200. Yes! Now, installing the doors was a fairly straightforward matter. I widened an existing window, a window opening to fit the new doors, redid some electrical work, added a switch for an exterior light, and planned ahead for the deck and a deck cover by installing new ledger boards. Slap on some new exciting paint colors and voila, as you can see, the master bedroom is totally transformed. But the exterior deck still needs to be done so that there is a direct route from the hot tub and the RV to the master bedroom without having to walk through the entire house. Okay, fast forward through the winter months and now it's spring. So let's get going on building the deck. A good project usually starts with a good plan.
I sketched up a basic plan using SmartDraw. You can check it out online. This helped me to visualize the project in 2 and 3 dimensions, not only for how much materials I'm going to need, but also to plan where to put support posts and connections to the existing deck. Demolition is always fun. I made sure to cover the glass of the new doors to prevent any damage from flying cement chips. Started sledging out the whatever that cement pathway was and clearing out the debris. Once I had the basic measurements figured out, I marked out the outline of the new patio using some twine and spray paint. Now, except for the posts, this patio is not going to be carrying a lot of weight, maybe only storing some lawn tools underneath. So I'm going to make the slab about 3.5 inches thick, the thickness of a 2x4. Rebar is not needed for a patio of this depth and for this purpose. I'll need a couple of inches of gravel base, and the soil in my yard is filled with glacial leftovers from the Ice Age. Small river rocks abound. So I'm sifting what I've excavated out of the project area to recover the small rocks and to use it as a gravel base. This will save a couple $100 and gave me a pretty good workout. This is where I currently store my lawnmower, in the garage. I'd like to get it out of here to make room for a new electric bike someday, and I plan to store the lawnmower under the new deck. So I'm measuring here to make sure that I mark where the surface of the cement patio needs to be to accommodate the lawnmower being stored here. Okay, now we're embarking on new territory. I have never poured a cement patio before. I've done fence posts with quick cure cement, but not a patio. The size and scope of this small slab seems reasonable enough for a first timer, so let's dive in and learn. Building forms is pretty easy. I just used some leftover 2x4s from another project. Now, I've decided to pour the patio in two sections for two reasons. First, the patio is going to be 13 feet wide, and that's a long distance to screed across. Second, I'm installing an expansion joint between the slabs to help prevent cracking. I read that you should put in an expansion joint at least every 8 feet. Now, I'm using levels to make sure that the patio is level when looking at the house, but slightly sloped away from the house about 1/4 inch every 4 feet. This is because you want water to run off away from the house and not toward the foundation. I've identified the location of the post holes and will dig to a depth of 12 inches as I will be using a metal bracket and J-bolt to connect the wooden post to the cement. I'll show you that later. Then I backfill with a couple of inches of gravel and rock that I had previously excavated, and I think I'm pretty much ready to pour cement when the weather is dry for a few days. While the Pacific Northwest spring rain persisted for about 10 straight days, I calculated the number of bags of cement I would need for a slab that is 3.5 inches thick, 6 feet deep, and 13 feet wide. Can you believe it? 54 60-pound bags. Really? Who needs the gym when you have a home improvement project like this? Finally, some dry weather and I'm ready to learn how to pour cement for the first time ever. First, I needed to make sure the gravel was nicely compacted, but did you see how much a tamping tool costs? Time for another round of exercise as I just used my body weight and jumped across the project area several times. I installed an expansion joint between the foundation of the house along the mark I had drawn for the height of the patio. I used some liquid nails to hold it in place while I poured the cement. Now for pouring the cement, I used an old-fashioned wheelbarrow, a wooden hand shovel, and my aging back to mix the cement 2 bags at a time. I built a ramp so that dumping the wet cement out of the wheelbarrow didn't mess up my forms, and this worked quite well. The first pour for the first section of patio took 29 bags of cement, and boy did I need a hot tub after that. After the forms were just about full of wet cement, I started to screed across the top to make sure the surface was flat. There were high and low spots to be leveled, and I had to mix a bit more cement. Now, most remarkably is my really good dog Athena, who didn't even once venture across the wet cement. I learned that smoothing cement with a trowel is definitely a learned skill. I was grateful that this area was not going to be seen much after the deck is completed. I decided to broom over the top to create channels for water runoff. Now remember to wash out your tools and your broom soon after use so that the cement doesn't harden on them. See that combination lock hanging by a piece of twine? That's the location of the first post, and I will measure the location of the second post based on that. I placed the J-bolt and post bases in place by carefully measuring and triple checking the planned post locations. This is my first cement pour ever. It's not the Costco showroom floor, but it'll do. I'm covering it with plastic so that the cement cures evenly and slowly so as not to crack. In addition, rain is predicted for the next full week, so the plastic cover will protect the patio from the rain. The cement needs to cure for several days, so while I'm waiting for that, I decided to be productive and pre-stain the deck boards so they're ready when it's time to start building the deck. And in addition, I purchased more cement for the second patio. The cement has had plenty of time to cure and we've got a few days of dry weather, so it's time to get going building the deck. Everything depends on the posts being perfectly vertical and the deck being perfectly horizontal. So I found it's way easier to do this with help from someone you love to work with. We start with the deck and work our way up so that we can use the deck as a surface to place the beam and get the cover done before the rain starts again. Lifting the beam into place is always satisfying. In this case, there was no way I could have done this without the two of us. The third support beam won't be placed until the second cement pad is poured. So as you can see, about 6 feet of beam is dangling out into space. After securing the beam in place, I'll drop my twine lock doohickey thing to place the third and final support post. For the stairway down to the hot tub, we decided to try out pre-made stringers that cost about 20 bucks each. I'm not sure it really saved much time or money because we had to cut them a bit and shim them on the bottom to make them fit perfectly. There was a lot of math involved, which took me back to high school algebra and geometry, my worst subjects. You also have to pay attention to code tread depth and riser heights. I recommend making a drawing of the stairs before deciding whether to purchase pre-made stringers or just cut them yourself. We have one more day of dry weather, so we're getting going on the deck cover. Putting in the rafters would have been really tricky if we hadn't figured out this makeshift scaffolding using my sawhorses. This made the job of installing the rafters a lot easier. Installing PVC panels for the deck cover is pretty easy. We decided to get clear panels with UV protection so that the most sunlight would come through the French door windows, and the UV protection will help fading and prevent damage. Now, the proper way to install these corrugated panels is to first buy these plastic things. My friend calls them whirligigs, and the name has stuck. I got the panels and the matching whirligigs at my local hardware store. You first fasten down the whirligigs to the rafters and the cross beams, then you attach the panels with these special screws that have a rubberized washer. To keep your deck bone dry and protected, here's some important things to remember. First, make sure to overlap the edges of the panels. They are made wide enough to allow this if your rafters are 24 inches apart on center. Second, leave a couple of inches of overhang so water drips into the gutter and keeps the beam dry. Third, be sure to install the panels in the direction of the prevailing wind to reduce the chance that the wind can get underneath a panel and lift it up or off. Finally, make sure you fasten the panels through the whirligigs and onto the rafters by screwing through the ridges of the panel and not the valleys. These whirligigs have convenient holes in them so you can fasten the whirligig to the rafters through the valleys and then fasten the panels through the peaks. These steps will ensure that runoff doesn't have any chance to leak through the cover onto your brand new deck. So here's how things look after the first phase of this build. And no sooner did we have the deck cover on and the job site tidied up before this happened. We wouldn't see dry weather again for another week.
Pacific Northwest deluge. Well, most of the deck is staying dry anyway for the meantime.
I was able to get a few things done during the rainy period since the deck was under a cover. If you have a Habitat for Humanity restore in your area, I highly recommend visiting your local store if you want to save some money on your DIY projects. In this case, I found the perfect handrail. It just needed some sanding, staining, and varnish. By purchasing at the restore, you help build housing for the needy, divert building materials from landfills, and get materials cheap. In this case, the handrail cost me all of $4. I also completed the deck railing while waiting for a stretch of dry weather. I did this very inexpensively by using stained 2x6s for the top and 2x4s and 2x2s for the fencing. Nothing very complicated here, except of course more math to make sure the balusters are spaced evenly. And just because I couldn't help it, I moved the lawnmower out of the garage to its new home just for the satisfaction of meeting one of my primary project goals. In order to make sure the lawnmower stays completely dry, I used a large, hard plastic tray as a barrier between the cement and the mower. Now above the mower, I installed leftover PVC roofing panels on the bottom side of the deck so that any water blown onto the deck can't drip down onto the mower. Alright, finally a string of several days of dry weather. First off, I'm going to try to figure out how far the second stairway that goes towards the RV is going to extend so I can place that third support post in the right place. I purchased a 5-step pre-made stringer, and as you can see, it's too high. So I'm going to have to use the 4-step stringer, and shim it up in order to make it work. It took another round of drawings and trying to think in 3 dimensions, but I eventually figured it out and was able to get the post location measured using the 4-step pre-made stringer. Once I had that figured out, you know the drill. Build forms, backfill with gravel, tamp it down, and make sure to put an expansion joint between the 2 slabs. Now, to ensure that the final post was placed perfectly vertical below the beam, I used my twine and combination lock thingamajig, then 24 more bags of cement. Now, I didn't broom off this surface because I really didn't like the rough look of it on the first patio, so I just decided to leave it smooth. Note that the J-bolt is perfectly placed where the 3rd post will need to go, and I didn't forget to put in an expansion joint between the slabs. I covered this section of the patio with plastic and gave it a few days to cure. Putting in the 3rd post was so satisfying. Everything was measured perfectly and it went right into place. We were really starting to see how this project was going to turn out now. We had already done the math on the steps, so this set was installed fairly quickly and without any real complications. Finishing the railing next to the stairs was another story. There was a lot of math and geometry involved again. All I can say about this is just be prepared to put in extra time and draw out plans on paper first. I did have to cut back the width of a few stair treads to install the bottom rail, but that was just a minor redo. And I installed another handrail using the rail that I rescued from the Habitat Restore. The finish line is in sight now. All that's left to do is the gutter. Now I decided to tie the gutter into the existing nearby downspout so that water would discharge into the storm system underground rather than across the surface. I didn't want to have water flowing across my new cement patio causing discoloration or erosion, or having to get a splash block or an extension causing a tripping hazard. I got the gutter pieces at the local hardware store and cemented them together with permanent gutter seal. I left it in the sun to dry for a few hours. Now this particular gutter system from Lowe's has these mounts that make it so easy. You can pre-fasten them into the gutter, and then mounting literally takes just a few minutes and only one person is needed. I was able to then MacGyver together some leftover gutter pieces to create an extension and tie into the nearby downspout. And with that, I considered this project completed. Except maybe we need some decoration.
Hey, I just wanted to give you a nighttime tour of the new deck. Here's the master bedroom and the French doors we installed, of course. So let's head outside. What you can see right there are a couple of solar post caps that we installed to light the stairway. So it's just a little safer at night. It's beautiful accent lighting. So here we are out on the deck, right? It's perfect, small down here. Go down the steps. And then you can see my RV is right over there. And then we just put in some solar powered accent lights there for that little rock area. But oh man, what a difference that makes from before. What a difference. Okay, so let's head over to the other side. Alexa, turn on the deck lights. And here is where the hot tub is. And we created a little sitting area for ourselves and our guests. There's Athena keeping guard over the backyard. And this turned out perfect. We used to have to walk through the whole house to get to the hot tub. And now we just come right out of our bedroom and we can enjoy this beautiful, quiet space. Okay, while I give you a daytime video drone tour of the project area, let's talk about the cost of this project. I contacted a licensed general contractor that I've used before, for those times when it's best to have a professional do it. He reviewed the scope of work that we completed during this project, including site prep, demolition, disposal, framing and installation of brand new masonite French doors, installing ledgers, electrical revisions, sheetrock, texture and paint, inside and outside trim, the deck and the railings, the 2 stairways, installation of the deck cover, the gutter, and all associated materials including ordering, pickup, delivery, and disposal. He said he would have bid $15,000 for this job. Add state sales tax, and the total is $16,275. So I went back and I totaled up all of my receipts, and the total, including sales tax, was $4,094. So that's a savings of over $12,000 for doing it myself. Now, some people learn a new language, some people read more, or others take up painting during retirement. I'm learning new DIY skills, and apparently it's really paying off. In this case, I think not only did I save thousands of dollars, I also added thousands of dollars to the value of my home. So was it really an expense, or was it an investment that'll pay off in the future? All right, so that's a wrap on this project. Hopefully this video was helpful and inspired you that it's never too late to learn some new skills, especially if it'll save you some time and money in the process. If you want to continue learning and traveling with me on this journey, please subscribe. You never know when one of my upcoming videos will save you a lot of money or help you enjoy your retirement. See you next time.